The stars were cold and silent as 12 transport ships moved slowly through the darkness of space. They were old ships, they were tired ships, but they carried something precious inside them. 40,000 people filled these vessels. Men, women, and children, all of them running away from death. Ambassador stood on the bridge of the lead transport. She was a species known for their gentle nature and their purple skin. Her large, dark eyes watched the endless black void through the window. She had not slept in 3 days. She could not sleep, not when so many lives depended on her. The people had lived in peace for 1,000 years. They were farmers, artists, and teachers. They had no army, they had no warships, they had never needed them. But then they came. There were hunters. They traveled from system to system taking what they wanted. They took resources, they took planets, they took people. There were perfect victims, peaceful, defenseless, easy to catch. For 6 months they had been hunting them. Colony after colony fell. Millions were taken as slaves. Those who resisted were killed. Had gathered what survivors she could find. 12 ships, 40,000 souls. It was all that remained of her once great civilization. "Ambassador," said pilot from the control seat. He was an older with tired eyes and shaking hands. "We are 2 hours from the Galactic Union border. Once we cross it, we will be safe. They cannot follow us there." Nodded slowly. 2 hours. They just needed 2 more hours. She allowed herself a small moment of hope. Perhaps they would make it. Perhaps they would survive. Then the alarm started screaming. Red lights flashed across every console. Hands moved quickly over the controls, his face turning pale. "Ships," he shouted. "Ships coming out of hyperspace." Ran to the window. She saw them appear one by one. 16 hunter ships. They were black and sharp like knives cutting through the darkness. They moved with terrible speed, spreading out in a perfect circle around the convoy. There was nowhere to run, nowhere to hide. The convoy was surrounded. "No," whispered, "no, no, no." A voice crackled through the communication system. It was deep and cruel, filled with dark amusement. "Attention, little prey," the voice said. "This is Warlord of the Dominion. You have led us on a long chase, a fun chase, but all chases must end." "Grab the communicator. Please," she said. "We are civilians, we have children, we carry no weapons, we are no threat to you. Let us pass." Laughed. The sound made blood run cold. "No threat? Of course you are no threat. That is what makes this so easy. You have 2 choices, Ambassador. Surrender now and your people will live as slaves. Resist and you will die in the cold emptiness of space. Choose." Looked around the bridge. She saw her crew. She saw their fear. Through the internal cameras she could see the transport holds. Families huddled together. Mothers holding their children close. Old people praying to gods that had never answered. "I need time," she said into the communicator. "Let me speak with my people." "You have 10 minutes," replied. "Then we begin." The communication cut off. Fell into a chair, her body trembling. There was no escape. Their ships were too slow. They had no weapons. No one was coming to help them. The Galactic Union was too far away. Their allies had already been destroyed. This was the end. The ships began moving closer. They were playing with their prey now, enjoying the fear. Small fighter craft launched from the hunter ships, circling the transports like sharks around wounded fish. In the cargo hold of Transport 7, a young girl pressed her face against the window. She was 8 years old. Her name was. She watched the black ships grow closer and closer. She did not understand what was happening, but she understood fear. She could feel it all around her. "Mama," she said quietly, "what are those ships?" Her mother pulled her away from the window. "Do not look, little one, just stay close to me." But had already seen enough. She had seen the hunter ships. She had seen there was no way out. Far away, hidden in an asteroid field, another ship was watching. It was small compared to the fleet. It was painted black and gray, designed to blend with the darkness of space. No scanner could see it. No sensor could find it. It was a ghost in the void. This ship was called the HSS Talon. It was a human vessel. On the bridge of the Talon, Lieutenant stared at her screen. She was young, with sharp eyes and quick hands. The distress signal from the convoy had just reached her station. "Captain," she said, her voice tight, "I am picking up a distress call. 12 transport ships, 40,000 civilians. They are surrounded by hunters." Captain Park looked up from his chair. He was a calm man with a weathered face and steady hands. He had served in the human navy for 20 years. He had seen many things, but the image on the screen made his jaw tighten. "How far?" he asked. 20 minutes at full speed," replied. Stood and walked to the main window. He could not see the battle from here. It was too far. But he knew what was happening. He knew what they did to their prisoners. "Our orders are to observe and report," said Chief Engineer from her station. "We are not supposed to engage." Said nothing, he just watched the stars. Somewhere out there, 40,000 people were waiting to die. Captain Park stood very still in the center of the bridge. The distress signal played on the speakers. He could hear crying. He could hear prayers. He could hear the voice of Ambassador begging for more time. His crew watched him in silence. They knew what he was thinking. They were thinking the same thing. "Captain," said Lieutenant softly, "they are moving into attack position. They are going to start soon." Closed his eyes for a moment. He had been a soldier his entire adult life. He had followed orders. He had done his duty. Following orders was simple. Following orders was safe. But some orders were wrong. He opened his eyes and looked at his crew. There were only 32 people on the Talon. 32 humans against 16 warships. The numbers made no sense. The math said they would lose. He said to his chief engineer, "What are our chances?" Was a small woman with grease on her hands and truth in her eyes. She never lied to her captain. "If we attack directly, we will be destroyed in minutes. The Talon is a stealth ship. We are built for speed and hiding, not for battle against a fleet." "So we have no chance," said. Paused. "I did not say that, Captain. I said we cannot attack directly. But if we are smart, if we are careful, maybe we can do something." Ensign turned from his pilot station. He was the youngest member of the crew, only 22 years old. His hands were shaking slightly, but his voice was steady. "Captain, I joined the Navy to protect people. I did not join to watch innocent people die while we hide in the shadows." Looked at the young pilot. He saw himself from many years ago. Young, idealistic, ready to fight for what was right. "If we do this," said slowly, "there is a good chance we will all die. I cannot order you to follow me into this battle. I can only ask." Stood from her station. "Captain, I have been serving with you for 5 years. Where you go, I go." Nodded. "The Talon is my ship. I built half of her systems with my own hands. If she is going to fight, I will be here to keep her running." One by one, the crew members spoke. Every single one of them volunteered. Not because they had to, because they chose to. Felt something warm in his chest. Pride, love, hope. "Then we fight," he said, "but we fight smart. Tell me about the fleet." Pulled up the tactical display. 16 red dots surrounded 12 blue dots. The red dots were the enemy. The blue dots were the prey. 16 hunter ships, said. They are arranged in a standard hunting formation. All their attention is focused inward on the convoy. They are not watching their backs. They do not expect any threat from outside. "That is their first mistake," said. "The command ship is here," continued, pointing to the largest red dot. "Warlord is on that vessel. He controls the entire fleet from there. If we take out the command ship, the other ships will lose coordination. They will panic." Studied the display. There were predators. They were used to hunting weak prey. They had never faced a real enemy. They had never faced humans. In all the galaxy, humans were unknown. Earth was a small planet in a quiet corner of space. Humanity had only been traveling the stars for 200 years. Most alien species had never met a human. They did not know what humans could do. They certainly did not know. The Talon has stealth technology, said. They cannot see us on their sensors. We can get close, very close. How close? Asked. Close enough to look through their windows, replied. Pulled up the ship's power systems on her screen. Captain, if we want maximum power to weapons, I will need to take energy from other systems. Life support, shields, heating. Do it, said. Everyone put on emergency suits. We will run cold and dark. The crew moved quickly. They had trained for this. They knew their jobs. Within minutes, the Talon grew quiet. Non-essential lights turned off. Heating systems shut down. The ship became cold, barely warmer than the space outside. All that power flowed into the weapon systems. The Talon had two main weapons. The first was it fired solid metal rods at incredible speed. These rods could punch through almost any armor. The second weapon was a set of precision missiles. They were small but deadly, designed to hit exact targets. Weapons are at full power, reported. Engines ready, said. Life support at minimum, said. We have 2 hours of air in our suits. Sat in his captain's chair. The bridge was dark now, lit only by the soft glow of the screens. His crew sat at their stations, breathing slowly in their emergency suits. He looked at the tactical display one more time. 16 enemy ships, 1 human ship, 40,000 innocent lives hanging in the balance. He said calmly, take us in, slow and quiet. We are a ghost, we are a shadow, they will not see us coming. Yes, Captain, replied. The Talon began to move. It slipped out of the asteroid field like smoke drifting through darkness. No engine fire, no energy signature, just cold metal moving through cold space. On the command ship, Warlord watched the convoy with hungry eyes. His 10 minutes were almost over. Soon, the killing would begin. He had no idea that death was coming for him. He had no idea that somewhere in the darkness, a small human ship was moving closer and closer. He had no idea that humans existed at all. That was his second mistake. It would be his last. The Talon moved through space like a whisper. No sound, no light, no heat, just a dark shape sliding through the endless black void. On the bridge, Captain Park watched the distance counter slowly decrease. 20 kilometers to the enemy fleet. 15. 10. Holding speed, Ensign whispered. Even though they could not hear them, everyone spoke quietly. It felt right. They were hunters now, stalking their prey. Lieutenant kept her eyes on the sensor screen. No reaction from they do not see us. Their sensors are completely focused on the convoy. The Talon passed an outer patrol ship. It was so close that could see the alien markings on its hull. The vessel continued on its path, completely unaware that death had just passed by. Human stealth technology was the best in the galaxy. Humans had spent centuries fighting each other before they reached the stars. They had learned how to hide, how to sneak, how to strike from the shadows. All those years of war had made them very good at being invisible. They were hunters, but they had always hunted weak prey. They had never needed stealth. They had never faced an enemy that could disappear. 5 kilometers to the command ship, reported. Leaned forward in his chair. Through the main window, he could now see the fleet clearly. The hunter ships were black and angular, covered with weapons and armor. They looked powerful. They looked deadly. But they were all facing the wrong direction. In the center of the convoy, things were getting worse. Ambassador's time had run out. Warlord had grown tired of waiting. Your 10 minutes are over, his voice boomed through the communication system. You have chosen death, so be it. 3 ships fired their weapons, not to destroy, not yet. They fired to disable. Energy beams struck the engines of 3 transport ships. The vessels shook and stopped moving. They were now helpless. On Transport 7, Little felt the ship shake. She grabbed her mother's hand. All around her, people were screaming and crying. "Boarding parties are launching," announced with pleasure. "We will take your ships one by one. We will take your people one by one. This is the way." Small shuttle craft left the hunter ships and flew toward the disabled transports. Each shuttle carried soldiers. They would break through the doors. They would drag the out. They would put chains on their hands. Ambassador fell to her knees on the bridge. There was nothing she could do, no weapon to fire, no help to call. She had failed her people. "I am sorry," she whispered to no one. "I am so sorry." But far away, hidden in the darkness, the Talon was almost in position. 2 kilometers, said. "We are behind the command ship. They still do not see us." Chief Engineer checked her systems one more time. "All weapons charged, at full power, missiles ready. Captain, we are ready." Stood from his chair. He walked to the front of the bridge and looked through the window. The command ship filled his view. It was massive. It was covered with armor and weapons. It was the heart of the enemy fleet. In a few moments, he was going to rip that heart out. He said, "Bring us to attack position, 800 meters from the command ship." 800 meters, asked. His voice was nervous. "That is very close, Captain." "I know," replied. "I want to see our faces before he dies." Swallowed hard and moved the ship forward. The Talon glided silently toward the command ship, closer and closer, so close that could see the windows on the enemy bridge. "We are in position," said. Looked at the command ship. Somewhere on that vessel, Warlord was enjoying his victory. He was watching his soldiers prepare to board the transports. He was thinking about all the slaves he would take. He had no idea that a human warship was floating just outside his window. Said, "Target their bridge, their engine room, their communication array. I want them dead and silent." His fingers moved across her console. Targets locked. Took a deep breath. This was the moment. Once they fired, there was no going back. They would know they were here. The battle would begin. 32 humans against 16 warships. The math still said they would lose, but had learned long ago that math did not account for courage. Math did not account for skill. Math did not account for the fury of humans protecting the innocent. "All hands," he said through the internal speakers. "We are about to engage the enemy. Remember who we are. Remember why we fight. Those people out there are counting on us. They do not know we exist. They do not know help is coming, but we are here, and we will not let them down." He paused for a moment. "For Earth, for humanity, for those who cannot fight for themselves." The crew responded in unison. "For those who cannot fight." Sat back in his chair and looked at the enemy ship one last time. He ordered, "And fire everything we have." The Talon shimmered into existence like a ghost becoming solid. One moment there was empty space. The next moment there was a human warship, bristling with weapons, aimed directly at the heart of the fleet. On the command ship, a sensor officer blinked at his screen. Something had appeared, something impossible. He opened his mouth to sound the alarm. He never got the chance. The Talon fired. The fired first. 2 solid metal rods shot out at incredible speed. They moved so fast that the eye could not follow them. They hit the command ship's bridge before anyone inside could blink. The rods punched through the armor like it was paper. They went through the walls. They went through the equipment. They went through everything in their path. The bridge exploded outward in a spray of metal and fire. Warlord was standing by his command chair when the world turned to flames around him. He had one moment of confusion, one moment of fear. Then the void of space rushed in through the broken walls, and he was gone. The missiles came next. 6 of them, each one aimed at a different part of the command ship. 2 hit the engine room. 2 hit the weapon systems. 2 hit the communication array. Each missile found its target perfectly. The command ship broke apart. Explosions tore through its hull from front to back. Fires burned for brief seconds before the vacuum of space snuffed them out. The great vessel, home to thousands of warriors, died in less than 10 seconds. On the other hunter ships, chaos erupted. "What happened?" screamed a captain. "What destroyed the command ship?" "Unknown vessel," his sensor officer shouted back. "It appeared from nowhere. I do not understand." They had never faced anything like this. Their sensors had shown empty space. Then suddenly there was an enemy ship. Then suddenly their commander was dead. Their minds could not process what was happening. Captain Park did not give them time to think. "Evasive pattern Delta," he commanded. "Target the next ship. Give me everything the engines have." The Talon shot forward like an arrow. It was small and fast, much faster than the hunters. It twisted and turned through space, never staying in one place for more than a few seconds. The ships tried to fire at it. Their weapons were powerful but slow. They were designed to destroy large targets that could not move quickly, but the Talon was not a large target. The Talon was a needle in the dark. Energy beams passed through empty space where the Talon had been a moment before. Missiles exploded harmlessly in its wake. The human ship was always somewhere else. "Second target locked," reported. "Fire," said. The roared again. Another ship shuddered as the projectiles tore through its armor. This ship did not explode like the command ship, but its engines died and it began to drift helplessly. "Third target locked." "Fire." Another ship crippled. The Talon danced through the enemy formation like a demon made of steel and fire. It moved in ways they could not predict. It struck at angles they could not defend. Every attack was precise. Every shot found its mark. On the transport ships, they watched in amazement. They had been waiting for death. They had been praying for a miracle. Now they were witnessing something impossible. Ambassador stood at the window of her bridge, her mouth open in shock. A single ship was destroying the entire fleet, one ship against 16, and the one ship was winning. "What is that?" Pilot asked. His voice was filled with wonder. "Who is helping us?" Shook her head slowly. "I do not know. I do not know what kind of ship that is. I have never seen anything like it." The battle continued. The Talon struck again and again. 4 ships disabled, 5, 6. The remaining captains were terrified. They had started this hunt expecting easy prey. Now they were the ones being hunted. Their command ship was destroyed. Their warlord was dead. Their formation was in ruins. "Retreat," screamed one captain. "All ships retreat." Some of the hunters tried to run. They powered up their hyperspace engines, desperate to escape. But the Talon was faster. It caught 2 of the fleeing ships before they could jump away, crippling their engines with surgical precision. Ensign flew like he had been born in the pilot's seat. His hands moved over the controls with perfect confidence. Every turn was smooth. Every maneuver was exact. He had trained for years in simulators. He had dreamed of a real battle. Now he was living that dream. 2 more ships disabled, called out. "We have incoming fire from the rear." "Roll left down 30 degrees, ordered. Moved instantly. The Talon spun and dove and the enemy fire passed over them by mere meters. Did not flinch. His crew did not flinch. They trusted each other completely. "Return fire," said. The sang once more. Another ship went dark. Chief Engineer watched her systems carefully. The Talon was taking damage now. Small hits that passed through their shields. Warning lights blinked on her console. "Captain, we cannot keep this up forever," she said. "Our shields are at 60%, is starting to overheat." "How many enemies left?" asked. 5 active, replied. "But 3 of them are running for hyperspace. They will jump in 30 seconds. "Let them go," decided. "Focus on the 2 that are still fighting." The last 2 ships were brave or stupid or both. They charged at the Talon together, firing everything they had. For a moment, the space around the human ship was filled with deadly light. But was ready. He took the Talon into a spinning dive that no pilot could follow. The enemy fire missed. The human ship came up behind the two hunters like a ghost rising from the grave. Two final shots from the two final explosions. Then silence. The battle was over. 11 ships drifted dead in space. 5 had escaped into hyperspace. The convoy was safe. On the bridge of the Talon, the crew sat in stunned silence for a moment, then started to laugh. It was a tired laugh, full of relief and joy. Soon everyone was laughing. They had done it. 32 humans had defeated an entire fleet. Captain Park allowed himself a small smile. Then he straightened his uniform and turned to his communication officer. "Open a channel to the convoy," he said. "It is time to introduce ourselves." Ambassador stared at the communication screen. The face looking back at her was unlike any species she had ever seen. 2 eyes, 1 nose, 1 mouth, smooth skin in a warm brown color. It looked almost but different, simpler, smaller, and somehow far more dangerous. "This is Captain Park of the HSS Talon," the face said. "Earth Naval Command. We received your distress signal. Is everyone all right?" Could not find her voice for a moment. Her hands were shaking. Her hearts were beating too fast. She had just watched this strange being destroy an entire fleet. 1 ship, 1 captain, 16 enemies turned to floating metal in less than 20 minutes. Yes, she finally managed to say. "We are alive thanks to you, but I do not understand. What are you? Where did you come from?" His expression was calm. His voice was steady. He spoke like a man who had just finished a simple task, not someone who had just won an impossible battle. "We are humans," he said. "We come from a planet called Earth. It is far from here. I doubt you have heard of us." "Humans," repeated the word. It was new to her. "No, I have never heard of your species. How did you find us? Why did you help us?" There was a pause. Looked away from the screen for a moment, as if thinking about his answer. When he looked back, his eyes were soft. "We heard you calling for help," he said simply. "So we came." Felt tears forming in her eyes. For months she had called for help. She had begged every species she knew. The powerful ones said it was not their problem. The weak ones said they could not fight the. Everyone had an excuse. Everyone had a reason to look away. But these humans, these strangers from a world she had never heard of, had come. They had risked their lives. They had fought against impossible odds, for people they did not know, for people they had never met. "Thank you," whispered, "thank you." On Transport 7, Little was pressed against the window again. But this time, she was not watching enemy ships. She was watching the small vessel that had saved them all. "Mama," she said, "who are those people?" Her mother stood beside her, looking at the same ship. "They are called humans, little one. They saved us." "They are very brave," said. Her mother nodded slowly. "Yes, yes, they are." The Talon moved to escort the convoy, ordered repairs to begin while they traveled. His crew worked quickly, patching damaged systems and cooling the overworked weapons. Chief Engineer found standing alone at a window, watching the transport ships. "Captain," she said, "that was incredible flying, incredible shooting. We should all be dead, but we are not." Shook his head. "It was a team effort, flew like a master, hit every target, you kept the ship running, everyone did their part." "What will command say?" asked. "We ignored our orders, we engaged without permission, we revealed ourselves to unknown alien species." Smiled slightly. "They will probably yell at me for an hour, then they will give everyone medals. That is how the military works." Laughed quietly. "Worth it." Looked at the transport ships. Through the windows he could see the people, families, children, living, breathing people who would have been slaves or corpses without them. "Worth it," he said. The convoy reached the Galactic Union border without further trouble. 3 Galactic Union patrol ships came to meet them, their crews stunned to see the battered human destroyer and its unlikely charges. Ambassador requested permission to meet Captain in person before they parted ways. He agreed, and she came aboard the Talon with pilot. When she saw the ship's interior, was amazed. The Talon was small and cramped, built for efficiency rather than comfort. The corridors were narrow. The rooms were tiny. Everything was designed for war. She found on the bridge. He looked tired now, the energy of battle fading from his body. But he stood straight when she entered and offered his hand. Did not know this human custom, but she took his hand and felt his grip. It was strong and warm. "Captain," she said, "I must ask you something. When you decided to help us, you did not know if you would survive. You did not know if you could win. Why did you do it?" Was quiet for a moment, then he spoke. "On Earth we have a saying. We do not leave anyone behind. It does not matter if they are family or strangers. It does not matter if they are human or not. When innocent people are in danger, we help them. That is who we are." Felt tears in her eyes again. "They will hear of this. They will know about humans now. They may seek revenge." Nodded. "Let them come. We have been fighting for our survival since before we had fire. To think they are hunters. They have never met a species that hunts back." Smiled for the first time in months. "I believe you. I think the galaxy will learn to believe it too." She clasped his hand again. "They will never forget what you did. When we find a new home, we will tell this story to our children, and their children, forever. The day the humans came from the darkness and saved us all." Smiled back. "I hope we meet again, Ambassador, in better times." "We will," promised, "we will." She left the Talon and returned to her convoy. The transport ships resumed their journey into Galactic Union space, toward safety and a new beginning. The Talon turned back toward human space, its mission complete. But the story was only beginning. In the weeks that followed, word spread across the galaxy. A new species called humans had destroyed a fleet. A single ship had defeated 16 hunters. The Dominion was furious. The Galactic Union was intrigued. Everyone wanted to know more about these strange beings from a small blue planet. And far away on Earth, a report landed on the desk of the Naval High Command. They read about the battle. They watched the recordings. They saw 32 humans do the impossible. The commander closed the file and looked at his officers. "Well," he said, "I think the galaxy just noticed us. We better be ready." In the cold silence of space, the stars continued to shine. The galaxy continued to turn, but something had changed. Humanity was no longer hidden. Humanity was no longer unknown. And for those who preyed on the weak and the helpless, humanity was coming. The end.